And if you are a service-based business owner, if you are a salesperson wanting to be able to get sales consistently and predictably, or if you're just tired of the waves of inconsistency, this is the class for you. You will have an opportunity. I want to get rid of the elephant in the room up front. You will have an opportunity today. This is a free presentation. Every single free presentation, the speaker sits up there and they bang you over the head to be able to buy something. I do have an offer for you, and I'll tell you about that up front. We'll dive into it later, but I'm going to just get this out of the way. Guess how much the offer is going to cost you? $29. Good guess. $29. And that's a 5 week training program I'm going to show you the 5 week implementation program of Teach to Sell. And so that's a book that's coming out in June of this year. It's being published by Post Hill Press. I'm going to be talking to them on Friday, and Simon & Schuster is going to be distributing it. And so the book is the blueprint. The 5 week implementation program for 29 bucks is how you're going to be able to get there. You'll learn more about that here later. So anyone who wants a simple pathway and not having pressure, this class is for you. Let's go to the next slide, please. All right. Today, you're going to be able to learn exactly, there's going to be 4 pillars that you're going to be able to learn today. And those 4 pillars are to believe in yourself, to be able to then, like, how do I get business? Fraser's going to talk to us about that. And then after that, it's going to be how do I build an organization of structure around myself to be able to sustain that business, to be able to have the support, the staff, the systems, and then how to be able to lead, right? And you can apply what we're going through almost immediately. You can apply this today. If you want hand holding, then you do the 5. We'll talk to you guys about that later. All right, next slide, please. All right, so first principle, believe in yourself. And so believing in yourself is really the foundation of sales. It's the foundation of being able to get where you are to where you want to be. And it's something that so many, I think Richard had said he said, Dan, I don't know if people that joined us, we just got done with a shadow hour where I spent an hour grinding, making cold calls, making warm calls. And I've set up maybe, I don't know, 4 or so pieces of business, possibly, that I set up, during that 1 hour of work. And so that's where many programs start, is they start with, let me show you how to do this. Now, they may not even actually show you. They're probably just going to tell you. Me, I'm going to show you. But that's a second step. The first step is you've got to first believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, you're screwed. That's the nicest way I can say it. Okay. If you do not believe in yourself, you're handicapped. All right. And you're going to struggle in sales. You're going to struggle in other areas of your life, probably as well. Right. I just want to talk to you about ethical influence. That's what I'm here to be able to help you with. And so I want to make sure that you have the fundamentals, the tools and the resources that you can believe in yourself, such that when you implement the tools and resources that you're going to be able to get what you want in life. All right. So Leslie, if you can help me, because I don't have the agenda right in front of me. Welcome to everybody that joined us. John, hello, Bob, Shirley. I don't know if I've said it. Detsy, welcome, welcome, welcome. Turn your videos on if you'd like to, please, and thank you. And Leslie, can you help me with maybe sending me a message about the timing for our first speaker? And I got that down. Am I right that that's Tommy? Because I don't see him here. Is Tommy going at 120?
Yes.
Okay. Is he on his way?
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic. What time's Marla going? Marla's going at 2:15. Marla, you know that? Is that right? Okay. You got me scared here. I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. While we wait for Tommy, let's jump in. You can take that slide deck off. Let's go ahead and do let's do an exercise while we wait for Tommy. So in Teach to Sell, I give you the frameworks. It's not just like when I talk about belief, it's not woo-woo belief. All right. So what I want everyone to do is our first speaker's coming up in 8 minutes, but I want to give you an exercise before we get there. All right. And so what I want to do is I want to work with you. I'm going to ask for you to take out a piece of paper and a pen. And I'm going to work with you on a quick little exercise. And this is going to allow for you to be really situate yourself such that you're going to be able to use some framework. I'm going to give you some frameworks. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 different tools to be able to use so it's that you can really position yourself to really have like a B, C. Everything is as a model. Like you can have consistent, predictable income. You just need to know the model to be able to follow. Teach yourself is that model. So let me give you a couple concepts that I teach in the book, and I'm going to give you the first thing is called the self-coaching model. Who here has ever noticed, either for yourself or somebody else, that you have a friend that keeps getting the same results over and over again? For me, that friend was named Kelly. Kelly would, I remember I went to her, in fact, I went to her wedding maybe a week after I got my real estate license. And she marries this guy, it's in Hawaii, it's this beautiful wedding. Fast forward 24 months, and that same person who she just married, it ends up being an abuser, a cheater, a not a good dude, a gambler, like pretty much anything that you can imagine a guy does, he did it. They get divorced. And then fast forward, her next boyfriend, guess what? Same deal. They break up. Next boyfriend, repeat and rinse. She finally changed her circumstance. When she changed her circumstance about 3 years ago, she seems to be in a healthy relationship today. I trust that she is. And I know that that's because she changed her environment. Changing the environment is a tool and a hack that you can use in your business. But before we get to the change in the environment, you have to understand the way that the human beings, the way that we develop, and the way that we process information. And in the book, Teach to Sell, I go through what's called the self-coaching model. So I'm going to ask for you to take out a piece of paper and a pen. And at the top of that piece of paper, I want you guys to write down a word. And we're going to go through a quick exercise here together. And at the, hello, Daniel. Nice to see you. Hello, Lori. I saw Lori there somewhere. Tommy Lynch, hello. You're on a 5. No pressure, no pressure, no
Perfect.
pressure, man. No pressure. You're taking over the show in 5 minutes, and everyone's going to be staring at you, and they're going to be loving on you. Right at the top of your piece of paper, write down the word circumstance. Circumstance is what happens in our lives. And then we observe the circumstance through our senses. Right now, you're hearing my voice. You're seeing my face. Okay. You have other senses that, maybe you're seeing things or you're hearing things or you're feeling, smelling, whatever the case may be in your environment right now. Okay. There's 40 to 50 bits of data that you have available to be able to be aware of in any given instance. And there's 11.2 million bits of data that you could be aware of. Think about that for a second. 11.2 million bits of data you could be available, or that you are available, and 11.2 million that you could be available at any given moment. Because the magnitude of what you could be available is so great, and I'm going to prove that for a second. I want everybody right now to wiggle your big right toe. Go ahead, wiggle it. Wiggle it, wiggle, 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 wiggle. Who here was wiggling their right toe before I asked you to wiggle it? Anybody? Tommy was? Yeah, I doubt it. Who was wiggling their toe after I asked you to wiggle it? That's ethical persuasion, by the way. If you just wiggled your toe, I just demonstrated to you that I can guide you of how to think. That's evidence of that. Circumstance. You observe the circumstance through your 5 senses. Then, and we don't have nearly enough time during this class today, but when you do the 5-week implementation program, we're going to dive into this deeper. Then what happens is you observe through your 5 senses. You go through things called deletions, distortions, and generalizations. We'll talk more about that in the 5-week class. And then you go through and you assign meaning to whatever that bit of data is. Okay, remember 40 or 50 bits that you could be available out of 11.2 million, which demonstrates not only that you can influence somebody else, but you can also be influenced as well. This is why when you're looking for evidence, you will always find it. If you're looking for evidence that you just broke up in a relationship and that person, you don't want to think badly about them, there's data for that. If you want to think great about them, there's data for that. Whatever the case may be, it's up to you to choose. Once that circumstance comes in, you delete, you distort, and you generalize. You assign meaning to it based off of your history, based off your education, based off your upbringing, etc. Then you have a thought. That thought then creates a feeling for you. So the circumstance leads to the thought. So on your piece of paper at the 12 o'clock position, you write down the word circumstance. At the 2:30 position, you write down the word thought. At the 5:30 position, you write down the word feeling. And then over on the other side here at the 7 o'clock position, you're going to write down the word action. All right, so you have a circumstance, you perceive it, then you have a thought about it, and then you have a feeling about it, and then you have an action about it, and then you have in the 10 o'clock position the word result. Okay, so it goes circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result. And now what I want you to do is I want you to draw a circle, like a clock, so that the circumstance goes to the thought goes to the feeling, etc. Backtrack. What's this got to do with Kelly? If you want to change your world, if you see people that keep hitting that ceiling of achievement over and over and over again and never breaking through, this is your hack. Okay, because we work 80% of our time, we work in our subconscious. But we can program consciously, we can program our subconscious to have different thoughts. And when you have different thoughts, everything else goes from there. You have different feelings. Okay? You're not in charge of your first thought necessarily, but you are in charge of your second thought. And you can reprogram your first thought. The way that you can reprogram your first thought are by meditation, affirmations, by visualizations, reading, podcasts like the No Broke Months podcast for salespeople, to be able to your relationships, your environments, etc. Kelly moved from one section of the country to another section of the country. She quite literally cut ties with an unsupportive environment. She basically went home to Texas to her family, and now she's got a healthy environment with her family around her, and now she's making healthy choices. So I gave you here is life. That we go through that in the book Teach to Sell. And here are the 5 ways that we sort of process through this while we hit the ceiling of achievement. And now here is a pathway that you can reprogram yourself. And that's the meditation, affirmations, visualizations, podcasts, reading, etc., friendships, prayer. And now what we're going to be able to do is now we're going to be able to transform our thoughts that we can then transform our feelings, our actions, and our results. I'll give you one last hack on this. When you go to the restroom today and you go and you wash your hands, I want that cold or warm water when it comes onto your hands, I want that to be an anchor. And what that anchor is going to do, and I want you to write this down, it's going to give you the following directions. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I about to do? Because when you understand life, and then you understand that you can be in charge of your life when you're intentional, and I'm giving you very intentional tools right now that we all use the restroom. We all use it 4 to 5 times a day, right? So 4 to 5 times a day, you could choose to be in the position that you're focusing on. What am I thinking right now? Just a check-in. And if you find that you have crappy thoughts, you may also associate that I've got crappy feelings with that. And if you find you got great thoughts, I've got great feelings. Okay? And now you have a choice. Do I want to edit my thoughts? And oh, by the way, some people are situated that they have negative thoughts about other people. Eleanor Roosevelt and Socrates, it was actually Socrates and then Eleanor Roosevelt made it popular, taught us that weak-minded people talk about people. Medium-minded people talk about events, and strong-minded people talk about ideas and doing stuff. Okay, so I'm going to suggest that maybe if you're in a world where you talk about people, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But just recognize that there's a lower energy of thinking. Okay, so the reason why I mentioned that is because when you're washing your hands and you find yourself thinking, notice, am I thinking about ideas? Am I thinking about events? Am I thinking about people? And then you can alter things. Make sense, everybody? All right, give me a 1 if you're ready to get started. 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Lori says 1. You're number 1. You're number 1. Just don't give me the middle finger. That's all I ask. I almost did it, but I'm not going to. Tommy Lynch is somebody who I have had a front row seat of watching him start and develop several different businesses. The first one that I recall, the first one he was a salesperson in a payroll company, and then he took this bus, the school bus, and he made it into a party bus, and he spent the night in several states across the country. And I don't know if you got to 50 of them, but I know you got to a bunch of them. And I remember when he went on his bus tour. Who ever watched that movie? I know, Tommy, I think I told you about it. The one where the guy goes out to Alaska on a bus and
Into the Wild.
Yeah. So imagine going. Has anybody here ever seen Into the Wild? All right. So imagine if you've seen Into the Wild, you know how that ends up. So imagine Tommy Lynch going on this bus trip and Dan Rochon saying, "Hey, go watch Into the Wild," right? Just says instruction. Probably a bad joke. Tommy, welcome. How are you, sir? So today you're doing cult marketing, which is your business, and I want to learn more about that. But we want to talk about belief today. I gave people I gave them the like a framework that we go through and teach to sell. And I also want to be able to to talk to you about belief because you are a young man that you guys don't know about this, but I'm claiming a role as today. I'm going to be 53 years old in 3 days. And when I'm 83 years old, I'm claiming this right now. I'm going to be Tommy Lynch's campaign manager for you. And so I expect every one of your votes right now for Tommy 30 years from now. Commit to it now and join the tribe because Tommy is going to be somebody that's going to change this world. Tommy, welcome. How are you?
I am doing fantastic, Dan. How are you doing?
Good. Good to see you.
Um, Good to see you too. So I guess how much time do I have, by the way?
To 1:30, you got about maybe 12 minutes or so.
All right. So for I wanna back up and give I mean like first of all, huge thank you to Dan, not just for inviting me today, but for the like he has been extremely formative in my development as a business person. Um, when I first met Dan, I was 18 years old at a BNI group and I was selling credit card processing. Had really no idea what I was doing in my life. And at the time, Dan was like the most successful person that I knew. And I was like, dang, this guy, he runs this real estate company. He's coaching people every time he gives a keynote presentation. He knocks it out of the park. I want to be like Dan.
All
And
right, that's the
so,
presentation, everybody. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Sorry, great, Tommy.
but and I mean that like, and then you were the first person to really sort of show me like, and this framework, right, that we went over, right, of circumstance and thoughts and feelings and actions and results, right? When you first, talked about that years ago to me, like that was the first time I was really like, wow, like, here's a real framework to actually change your reality and to really change um the direction and the course of your life, right? My business, Cult Content, it is a TikTok shop marketing agency. Now, it took me a little while to figure out that I should go there, and that's the direction I ended up going in. At first I was doing credit card processing. I didn't have the belief in myself to really do that, and I knew I wanted to help people, but wasn't sure where I was going to go. For a short time, I helped Dan with his lead generation, and I was just picking up the phone and dialing. Then I started the party bus business. Couldn't get insured. It turns out no one wants to insure a 19-year-old with a party bus. So
Who
that's when
knew?
I moved into the bus and started traveling the world. And I started to do something that fit sort of my skill set, which was TikTok, social media, and all of that. Now, over time, I realized what it is that I'm actually doing here, right? And with Cult Content, I'm making the dreams of uh, product brands come true. I'm helping them launch on TikTok Shop, helping them find affiliates, doing all this, right? I have a separate piece of my business. It's called the Alchemist Club, right? And this is like a paid content creator community. So this is for TikTok Shop affiliates that want to get brand deals and that kind of thing. The reason I call it the Alchemist Club is because we are turning dreams into reality. That is the mission of the Alchemist Club. I do that by helping them line up brand deals and do all that kind of stuff. Now, there was a point in time, like I've mentioned, where I was selling credit card processing, or I was struggling with this party bus business, and I didn't really know what it was that I was doing or why I was doing it. And it took me a little while to really forge that belief in myself. And when we talk about selling, that belief in yourself is very important, right? Because who's going to buy credit card processing services from an 18-year-old who doesn't believe that this is the right thing that he should be doing? Who's going to buy even a house? When I was generating leads for Dan, and I just didn't have the conviction or the confidence in myself to really know, like, oh, is this somebody that even needs a house? Like, I didn't have it in me, right? And so it took me a little while to really figure out something like how can I use my skills to benefit people, to really help people? How can I, like, what are the problems that I'm actually geared to solve? When I began to identify that, the belief in selling became much easier. Actually, one of the reasons I was late to this call is I was just on a sales call with a brand who's interested in launching. Now, this brand has done hundreds of millions of dollars in sales, and they come to me when they want to know about TikTok Shop and that kind of thing. And then I've now identified a place where I have this belief in myself. I've been in the TikTok Shop space for years, and so I know it really well. And I have this belief in myself that I can genuinely help people. And when I'm selling, I'm not. It's not about trying to close a deal. It's not about honestly, it's not about trying. It's not about selling either, because that's almost comes from a mindset of lack. And so it's truly about having a mindset of abundance. How can I help this person? I don't need a payment to help this person. If it's not the right fit, I'm going to tell them that, and I'm not scared to say, hey,
Let me
no, like,
let
mhm,
me ask you a question about that, Tommy.
sure.
All right. So you mentioned about the fact that like you, how old are you today? How old are you now?
I'm 23.
23. All right. So I've known you since you've been 18. So that's 5 years, a little bit more than that. And and so it took you maybe two or so of those years to sort of develop like where's my journey? Like where do I want to go? And you tried different things and you found, well, I don't want to do real estate sales. I don't want to do credit card sales. I don't want to do I do sort of want to do the party bus, but that's something that, it's not available to me. And so, so what I want the audience to hear is that when Tommy found his way, then the things started to work. Okay. So you may be in a position right now where you're struggling. And if that's the case, I want to give you a very specific, like, here's a tool, and this is in Teach to Sell. And what we go through in Teach to Sell is we identify what is your superpower. And Tommy and I did a lot of this work together and identifying like what makes you great. What does your family say you're good at doing? What is your sister, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your partner, whoever? What do they say that you are fantastic at doing? Now, once you identify that, now whether it be within the realm of whatever your business is, or maybe it's outside of that, like for Tommy, he tried different businesses, right? For me, like in real estate sales, there's a million different ways I could find business in real estate sales. And I've identified about nine of them to say, we're going to hammer these nine. All right, now that's a developed business. I wouldn't say nine if you're starting. I'd say one to three, get to three as quickly as possible, build some systems, and then the teach yourself framework will get you to the next part. That's when we get to organization building. We're going to talk about that later today. But for the belief part, you have to understand that getting like, what is it that I love doing? And then doing it, that's a starting point to being able to have the ability to be able to be consistent and predictable in your actions. Tommy, today, do you love doing what you're doing?
I love it. Wouldn't
Are
want to
the
do anything
challenges?
else. 100% ups and downs all the time.
I knew the answer. That was a sandbag question. We had lunch last week. I knew the answer to that question. Um, how do you deal with the challenges? If you love doing what you're doing, but you also have challenges, how do you deal with it?
I think a lot of it's having the long-term perspective. And I think if you talk to any really successful person, they'll they're not in it for the short term. I'm not in it to make $50,000 this month or next month or 2 months from now, 3 months from now, right? I'm in it for years. I'm in it for decades even, right? And so the challenges that come up are they're really just opportunities, and I I see those opportunities as a way to grow. And so these things they happen in my business. They're absolutely unavoidable. In fact, they're supposed to be there. And so you really just you take those challenges, you learn from them, you see that as part of the opportunity, and then that once you do that and you're on that other side of that challenge and of that opportunity, then you have even more conviction in yourself, and more belief in yourself, and then it just begins to snowball from there.
Let's go back for a second. So when you were in credit card processing sales, did you enjoy that?
Parts of it, but not really.
Okay. So then you didn't have passion for that. So what's the difference? Is it just simply because you're working on your own versus for somebody else?
Um,
Or
Not
is there more
really.
to it than that?
There's more to it. So I mean that's definitely a big part. I get to make my own schedule and do all of that, which I love. It's also part of it is when I was doing credit card processing sales, I was competing with these guys who had been in the industry for 50 years, or maybe not 50, but 20,
Long time.
30
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, TikTok Shop has been out for like 3 years, and I've been here for all three. And so that's part of it, and it's also like it's cutting edge, which I love. And so there's so much opportunity. Affiliates can make a bunch of money, brands can make a bunch of money, and I get to be kind of a guru and teach people, guide people, and help them on their journey as well.
Yeah. Something that I was just thinking as you're talking, Tommy, I don't want to see what your ideas on this are. You have a competitive advantage in your marketplace over me. I have a competitive advantage in my marketplace over you. And what I mean by that is if you guys are looking at me and looking at Tommy, who do you want to give you advice on TikTok Talk Shop? Right? And if you're looking at Tommy and me, who do you want advice on your real estate, buying or selling? And so there's evidence right there that, you could take away. Now that doesn't mean that Tommy couldn't do what I do and I can't do what Tommy does, right? But it just means that there is a pathway for everybody. And if you have a limiting thought like I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm too green, I'm too blue, I'm going to tell you there's evidence because Tommy's very successful at what he does. A very young man, and he's very successful at what he does. Okay. And if anybody here wants to know about what he does and go to Colt Content Media or where would they go, Tommy?
Coldcontent.cc.
ColtContent.cc. Tommy, I got around 40 seconds or so here. So leave us with a bit of wisdom on belief, if you could, please.
Sure. So I believe in a concept called Wu Wei. This is a Taoist concept that translates to effortless action. Um, Sometimes it's hard to believe in yourself when you're looking at a path that has a ton of roadblockers. But when you see a path that looks easy and that looks effortless, then you're you simply just have to find that path and float down that river, and your effort becomes effortless and your belief becomes intrinsic. So that's my wisdom drop.
And I love that. So fine, again, go back to your way, your pathway. And when you find your pathway, it becomes more fluid, it becomes more natural. And yeah, you may hit a pothole from time to time, you may hit a roadblock from time to time, but you're on the pathway for you. And that's really where we want to start today's conversation with the Teach to Sell technology of we want to start with us and then find out like what is that pathway for us to be able to be in our natural zone of genius. And now we're going to go down that pathway and we're going to go down Wu Wei Highway. I'm just making stuff up. I have no idea what Wu Wei is, but I'm going to research it later today. Tommy Lynch, everybody, do me a favor. Everyone, take your videos, your little buttons there where it says volume. I want everyone to hit that volume button, and I want everybody to unvolume yourself. Make it so that we can hear you. And then once you do that, I want you to look up and I want you to join me. And then on three, I want you to pretend that we're in a live auditorium right now. And Tommy Lynch just gave us his thoughts on Wu Wei and his thoughts on belief. And I want to acknowledge Tommy. So join me in applause, please.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, I got a quick minute and a half video, and actually, I think I got a quick 40-second video. I think someone said to me 40 seconds, and I thought I was being told I have 40 seconds to wrap up, and I think she was telling me that the video is 40 seconds. So excuse me, I'm a bad host sometimes. Let's go ahead and play a video. It's a 40-second video, and then we're going to come back and we're going to hear from Fraser O'Leary. Dan Rushan, super fan. You're funny.
Part of your Teach to Sell program is inform them of everything that they need to know before you get an objection.
I look at this, learning this method and investing in yourself. And when you see, the results, you take away your client's anxiety and you look, like the expert.
So if you're doing the program correctly, then you won't have many objections because you should have covered it all already.
So when you teach to sell, you remove their anxiety. Is that what I'm hearing you say, Kat?
Correct. Yes, that's what I meant to say.
All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So thank you for playing that quick video there. And Mr. Fraser O'Leary is going to be joining us next. And I've known Fraser, sorry, Marla. I've known Fraser longer than anybody else here. Barely. Barely, barely, barely. When Fraser and I both met, we both had hair, and then apparently today,
Look at this train wreck. God bless us. What is
welcome,
that
Fraser.
picture?
Fraser, that's an AI. That's an AI picture right there because Fraser gave us this photograph, and he
Jeez.
had his very best wife beater T-shirt on, and we had to dress him up a little bit.
Unacceptable. Hey, Marla. Unacceptable. God bless us. First off, I don't wear a tie. So that's number one problem with this picture. But then there's many others.
All right, so Fraser O'Leary runs a business called
Stop
Kid
saying
Biz.
O'Leary. My name is O'Leary. Okay, we fought
Fraser
in
O'Leary
Ellis
is
Island.
Fraser O'Leary has a business called Kid Biz, and then also Community Connect. And so he's going to be talking to today about lead generation, and he's going to be talking to us about like some specific ways to lead generate. And so today's conversation is a little bit different than the first two. The first two audiences that we did, or the first two Teach to Sell live events that we did, we brought people in and we really talked about like high level marketing. And what I wanted to do today is I want to have a little bit more of a rooted in the ground type marketing, right? Like something that we can all do rather than television advertising, radio advertising, some things that may be unattainable for some of us. And so we can all advertise on TikTok. We can all advertise on YouTube. We can all advertise on, on some of the methods that Fraser's going to talk to us about. But Fraser, before we get started, tell us just a little bit about who you are briefly, a 30-second, a 7-second bio, and tell us a 7-second bio about who you are, and then maybe like one business lesson that you learned about lead generation, and then let's jump into the lead generation piece.
Sure. Well, like Tommy, I'm 22 years old. Been doing this for a little bit. So my name is Fraser O'Leary, and I run something called, as Dan mentioned, called Kid Biz. That's a youth entrepreneurship organization. But my sort of primary platform that I work on is called Community Connect. And that's where we go, or I go to different parts around the country, and we plant and activate community connecting platforms that enable small businesses to support causes and communities they care about and grow their businesses in the process. And that has been a passion of mine, community building, community networking, for probably 25 years. It's something I've been doing since 2001. Community networking group, entrepreneurship center, lots and lots of different things. And now I am traveling around the country, planting communities as I go. I'm currently in, where am I? Tallahassee, Florida. And I'm going to spend 3 days here doing hardcore community networking and community marketing using what we're going to talk about here today. So whether you're in an area that you've been in for 20 years or whether you're in an area you've been in for 20 minutes, the things that we're talking about, things that Dan talks about really do accelerate your ability to penetrate and connect.
Yeah, and you've been in your area for how many minutes?
Well, I mean, I got in yesterday. So
Yeah.
I got in yesterday and I'll leave tomorrow. So.
Okay. So there's evidence that,
I mean,
okay,
I've already made $1 million though. I mean, it's a fantastic.
Yeah. Who's buying your lunch today? There's there's evidence right now that no matter how, okay, we go back to Tommy. It's like no matter how young you are, how old you are, or how long you've been in your community, like there are no, this is going somewhere different. I'm not calling you old.
Yeah,
there are different there's different, like it doesn't matter, right? There's always opportunity in front of you. There's always something that you could do to be able to penetrate. And whatever you have as those limiting beliefs, I want them to, just go away.
Well, and let me just say, I think that what Tommy was talking about was really powerful. And it's and you said the same thing. It's finding the way. It's not to say that everybody can do anything, but what you want to do is sense and find the way. And I think when we're younger and when we're older and all throughout our lives, we think that things should be hard, right? No pain, no gain. And that's a message that we got. And so I think that as you get older, and I'm glad Tommy's realized this at 22, as you get older, you start to see like, oh, wait, this doesn't have to be as hard as it is. And what Teach to Sell, the sort of underlying philosophy is that there's a different way to do it. You don't have to grind. You don't have to persuade. You don't have to bully past objections. There's a different approach. And that's what I'm going to talk about specifically.
Well, let's talk about that approach, Mr. Frazier.
Okay. So I think the biggest thing, I'm talking about lead generation and specifically what I would call bait. And you guys, if you're a fan of like Russell Brunson talks about a term lead magnet, right? Dan Kennedy, who's kind of the godfather of direct marketing, at least in the past 30 years, talks about items of value and that sort of thing. And I call it bait because it means it has two purposes. It's something that you can think about: who are your customers and who do you want to attract? But the mistake that a lot of people make, and this is sort of the takeaway. I'll give you the takeaway at the beginning. When we start talking about bait, people get fixated on attracting customers. They think, what do I need to do to go out and attract customers? And Tommy kind of alluded to that. That is the wrong perspective to have. Because what it does is it activates the wrong part of your brain. It activates a part of your brain that kind of is out of integrity. Because when we think of sales, we think of trying to convince somebody to do something, trying to have somebody give us money. But when I talk about creating a piece of bait here, and I'll define that in a second. I don't want you to think about trying to lure customers in, even though I know that you're not going to lure your customers in to kill and eat them, which is what bait is there for. You're luring them in to help them. But I want you to focus on your current customers. We probably have a lot of businesses on this call. So we have real estate business, we have massage businesses, we have wellness business, we have financial businesses. You all have customers, you all have clients. And I want you to just think in terms of how could you help them? What is something you could create where you could spend more time with them, where you could give them more value? You could answer a question that they have. If you do that, and we'll talk about how to do that here in a second, but if you do that, then you're no longer thinking in terms of selling, you're thinking in terms of helping, right? And maybe what you're doing is teaching them something, but you're helping them. And all of you guys, I bet all of your clients would love to pick your brain, spend more time with you, get questions answered. And you would love to do that for them. So right now we're in this complete integrity mode where all you're thinking about is how can I help my customers, clients better, et cetera. All right. That's the mind shift. When you think in terms of what can I go put out in the world, what bait can I put out in the world in order to attract customers, it screws up your brain a little bit, okay? And you don't want to put your foot on the brake. You want to just be in a place. It's kind of like what Tommy was saying. He had a foot on the brake with regards to his credit card processing. He was like, I know this is not really what I need to be doing. All right, so what is BAIT? BAIT stands for big advice, information, or tools, okay? So you have advice, information, and tools that you can provide to your customers or your clients. So all we really have to do is two things. We have to define what you'd like to provide, and then we want to figure out how you want to provide it. And once you do that, I'm telling you, the magic starts to happen. Because one of the best things, and a lot of guys, if you guys are in service businesses, what I'm going to say is going to resonate with you. One of the problems is when you sell something, you have to fulfill on it, okay? You get a client, you have work to do. With BAIT, you now have a product. You have a thing that is going to help you grow your business and make money. And it's not something that requires fulfillment. It's not something you have to do anything about. You have to do something once, and then you get the benefit from it forever and ever and ever. Okay, so let me define what those two things are. One is, what should it be? You got to think here, guys. This is where you got to be a good teacher. You got to think and say, what do my customers need? What do they want? What do they want more of? What are the questions they're constantly asking me? I don't want to deal with 20 different businesses right now, but I see Marla in the wellness industry, and she could probably take some project or some challenge that people have and really dig into it, right? Dive in and just hit it from 360 degrees and dissect it. You need to think about, well, and here's the good news. Do your first one. No big deal, because it is the easiest thing in the world to create some good bait. We're doing it right now, right? Dan, I'm assuming, is recording this. So now we have an artifact. We have an item of value here that we can slice and dice and put into all sorts of different formats. So let's say I asked Marla a question, what is the biggest mistake that people make when they're tackling their wellness challenges? And she just opens her mouth and starts to talk. As long as you're recording it, you now have the opportunity to turn that into multiple media. It's never been easier. It's never been easier. You don't need Zoom, right? Do this on your phone. You can auto transcribe it. We all know that you can then take a transcript and run it through ChatGPT and say organize it, or create infographics, or create whatever. But if it's just audio, that's fantastic. I talk about buffaloing content, and buffaloing content means getting the most out of one piece of content that you do. If we do a 12-minute talk today, I want to be able to cut that up. I want to use infographics. I want to be able to transcribe. I want video. I want audio. I want PowerPoint. I want a animated app. I want everything, but it doesn't have to be. That's just about getting the most out of what you create. So then what do you do with it? Don't think in terms of customers. Think in terms of clients. If you think in terms of customers, you're subconsciously going to create but how am I going to put this in front of them? Which leads to social media and email and blah, blah, blah. But you have clients. Marla could send that audio or that video to her clients today. She could text it to them today. And guess what their response would be? Oh my God. Thanks, Marla. Thanks for thinking of us. Thanks for talking to this issue that we were thinking about, which means you get a positive response. Tommy was talking about belief and action. And there's a great cycle. If you guys have ever listened to Tony Robbins, this is where I think I heard about it first. It's, if you have negative beliefs, then you don't take action and you don't get results, which then feeds your negative beliefs. If you take action, then you get results, which leads to positive beliefs, which leads to more action, which leads to more results. It's a virtuous cycle at that point. So if you create one piece of content, just when you get off, just get off this call immediately. Sorry, looking at Dan to see his response. After this call, go and just choose one question that your customers ask a lot, record yourself on your phone answering that question, and then share that video with your clients, and you will get positive feedback. You will get people saying thank you, which is going to lead to you wanting to create more big advice, information, and tools that you can then start putting in front of prospective customers, which becomes lead generation. Now, we didn't talk about like the mechanics of opt-in pages or anything like that, but all you really have to do is share that you have something, right? Go like this. I have this thing that I would like to share with you. Please contact me. I have this video, I have this PowerPoint, I have this PDF, I have this checklist, I have this list of resources, I have this list of mistakes that people make. I would like to share it with you. Please contact me.
Tell me more about BAIT. So tell us that acronym again.
Big, advice, information, and tools. Big is a term I use that stands for business is good. So it's advice, information, and tools. You want to focus on an item of value. You don't want to focus on sign up for to talk to me, and you don't want to focus on anything that you have to fulfill on beyond the thing. What you want to do is give them something that's self-contained, that they're going to be excited about. And at the end of it, here's the deal, guys. If at the end of that PDF or video or audio, their problem is solved and they don't need you anymore, good. You might want to change your business model. But if that's all it takes to solve their problem, then great. You can help 1 million people tomorrow by just sharing that one thing. But usually what happens is people want more.
I had a call the other day with a prospective real estate client, and she was basically like, why should I, use you? And I shared with her, I said, I'm not, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to help you, yet I'm just here to help. I would, yeah, I wouldn't mind taking the time to be able to guide you through the market and talk to you about the economics of the marketplace, talk to you about the logistics. And at the end of that conversation, she's like, "Oh, how much are you going to charge me for that?" I said, "Well, as a part of the application process, and so it's complimentary." And then she's like, "Okay, well, then do I need to use you? Because I'm going to use my friend." I said, "Listen, I'm not here. I'm here to help you. And that's what I'm here to do. And that's what Teach to Sell is. And at the end of the day, you choose, you don't owe your friend anything, you don't owe me anything. You owe yourself to be able to get the right person to be able to help you. And if that's your friend, you should use her. Yet, again, you only owe yourself something." And so I filmed a video. She would not do an appointment with me. So I filmed a video. I sent her the video. This was 2 days ago. And then yesterday she comes back. She's like, "Oh, yeah, I want to use your services." Right.
Please
And so,
don't. Please don't work with her. Please don't work with her, Dan. She sounds like
why
an
is that?
absolute terror, an absolute train wreck. You're killing yourself. But
Am
never
I?
mind. Do your thing.
So
One
the
thing,
point the point being is that you could be able to convert somebody just by just backing off, just like what Fraser's talking about, and just be like, "Look, I'm just here to help."
Yeah.
Right. And then if you help enough people, Zig Ziglar, who I met once upon a time, he had, major dementia when I met him, but Zig Ziglar used to, say, you teach, you help enough people, then you always are going to get what you want. Fraser,
Yeah.
let's go back to the teaching, and taking that content. So what else do you have to say with us to us about that?
I mean, I think that the key thing, like we've talked about, I'm a former teacher, and I feel like a lot of my business is teaching. And so much of what you're trying to do, it's cliche. It's all know, like, and trust, right? The more that you can share content with people, the more likely it is that people are going to know you. If they spend time with you, hopefully, maybe they like you, maybe they don't, but familiarity breeds affection in like an online and a video world. And then the third thing is that, like Dan's talking about, if you are willing to give of yourself, if you're willing to share of yourself, right, spend your time sharing your knowledge, that builds an amazing amount of trust and reciprocity, or at least a sort of a feeling of, I don't want to call it obligation, but a feeling of, let's just call it trust. And oh, by the way, you're doing your mission. If you're in whatever business you're probably in it because you want to help the people, but you have a business model that requires you charging for it. This is best of both worlds, right? Think about how you can help more customers through leveraging content. Do that, and that will lead to more customers that you can help.
Well said, Fraser. Well said. Let's go ahead and take our microphones off, if we could, please, and
I'll start us on.
join
one thing
Fraser Larry to give himself some applause. Thank you, Fraser.
to back up Fraser here with this, the best performing LinkedIn post I have is a 300-page document all about TikTok Shop. And I say, hey, this document, you can plug it into ChatGPT. It'll answer all your questions about TikTok Shop. It's going to change your business. And if you want it, comment strategy and I'll send it over to you. And then boom.
There's something crazy about that. The person, and Tommy, you made me think of this. So I can't remember who this is from, but they were talking about the difference between a waiter trying to upsell you on something at a restaurant and the owner trying to upsell you at a restaurant. We think that the waiter's doing it because they want a bigger tip. When the owner comes over and says, "Hey, you really should try the filet mignon," we think he's doing it because he's, we don't suspect nefarious motives at that point because he's too big. And when you're in a place where you're giving away so much stuff, you kind of elevate yourself to that guy's got so much great content. He's giving this away. I don't even know what he's got behind the door, but I want to be a part of it, right? Alex Hermosi does that, par excellence, right? Is he just gives and gives and gives. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop, and the other shoe never drops until Tommy says it's going to be $100,000 for me to, work with you one-on-one, which at this point, if you can afford it, you want to do that,
Yeah.
So I think that's a great point, is just figure out how you can be of service and then do it. And then watch the magic happen from there on.
Thank you, Frazier. Thank you, Tommy. Let's play a quick video, and then I have a special announcement, and then we're going to welcome Karen Cooper.
Well, I just joined the 5-week Teach to Sell program. I want to apply and learn from you everything that we need to be able to do my real estate investment business.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's a fear in there, either rejection, embarrassment, or success, whichever one it is. I want to get to the bottom of it.
How's that change your life?
It will help me be able to go out and get some deals and to help support my family. I have 8 children, 4 of which are under 8. Yeah, I want to have also the confidence to move on. I feel it will help improve my quality of life.
Real quick, Brian, what's one thing that you've received that's changed in your life since you've been attending the CPI training?
And I'm actually talking right now. In the past, I would not have done that. I read through the PDF book, and I've learned that I do have some limiting beliefs. That's my next stage, is to change my language and change my mindset on that.
So not just your language externally, but and more importantly, your language internally.
Right.
Thank you, Brian. Brian's actually here today. Brian, you didn't know I was going to call on you. Brian, you are done with week 4 of the 5-day implementation program. Can you share with us specifically how has the 5-week training helped you? This is the Teach to Sell implementation program. I'm going to tell everyone about this here in about 30 seconds. Brian, how's that helped you? First of all, who are you? Where are you located?
Okay, my name's Brian. I live in Hanover, Ontario, Canada. I'm a real estate investor that's learning to talk to people and to get business wholesaling houses.
Fantastic.
I'm sick.
Fantastic.
I just turned 60 years old on January 5th. I have 8 children. Grown-up children's outside. I got a few inside the van. As you can see, I'm in my van, which is where I spend 12 hours a day normally out of my life. I'm always on the road, but I also contact people and learn to talk to people. And you have helped me get past my belief that you're never too old to start. And you, as long as you get it right upstairs there, the right belief.
Love it. Thank you, Brian, for sharing. So you're never too old to start, and you're never too young to start. You're never too green to start. Yep. You're never too blue to start. You just go and start. All right. Let me tell you, so I mentioned to you guys about a special product and service that we have, which is the $29 Teach to Sell implementation program. And so what this is what Brian's attending, and it's $29 for 5 weeks of training. You do have to purchase the book. You would get a PDF copy of that book today as soon as you sign up. And then you will walk through the next 5 weeks that I will walk you through step by step each one of the pillars. So week 1 is belief, week 2 is belief, week 3 is lead generation, week 4 is organization building, and week 5 is leadership. And we also tie it all up as well. This is the opportunity for you to be able to not just implement like a foolproof, like I'm going to give you the directions. Just like when I told you at the beginning about here are the directions on how to be able to believe in yourself. And then I didn't say believe in yourself. Like that doesn't work, right? We all know we should believe in ourselves. Instead, I gave you, here's a model. This is a self-coaching model. You have a circumstance. You go that circumstance through your senses, and then you delete, distort, and generalize. And we talk about that in the class. And then you assign meaning to it, and we talk about that in the class. And then you have a thought, and then a feeling, and then an action, and a result, and then it keeps going back over and over and over again. So I'm giving you models. I'm giving you technology. I'm giving you systems during the 5 weeks that are actionable that you can do right now. So just imagine that you have not just the blueprint, not just the guide, but you also have the instructor, the author, sitting there by your side like I have been with Brian for the last 4 weeks to be able to coach, guide, answer your questions, and be able to make certain that not only do you have the instructions, but you have the accountability to implement the instructions. Why do we charge $29 for the program? It's regularly $149. Here's the reality of it. I'm on a mission to help 1 million salespeople, entrepreneurs, and business owners to be able to have consistent, predictable income. That is my professional mission in life. we talk about ages. I'm going to be 53 years old in just a few days here. I'm going to probably spend the rest of my life helping salespeople, entrepreneurs, and business owners to be able to have consistent, predictable income, because I spent the first part of my life up until today implementing, documenting, recording, and then authoring so that I can give you the blueprint so it's foolproof. Just follow the freaking plan. And so if you want that guidance, sign up now, and we have to charge you something, because if we don't charge you something, guess what? You're not going to show up. That's the freaking reality of it. And I want you to get the best out of this, and that's why I want you to join us. And for full transparency, at the end of the $29 five weeks, you'll have an opportunity to continue with the coaching. My job is to earn the right to be your coach. At that point, it's $149. We're completely transparent about everything. You're never going to get popped. You can cancel anytime. There's always transparency. And what I'm doing right now, oh, by the way, is you attend an event. I teach you to sell. And guess what? I have the opportunity to be able to present a method to you, a technology to you. And this is what you're going to learn, is how you can do the same in your business. All right, so we'll put a link in there in the chat there, and we're gonna welcome Karen Cooper, and Karen is a real estate agent in the Northern Virginia area. She is the owner of the Platinum Group, which is a powerhouse residential real estate sales team serving Northern Virginia since 2015. And now they've actually expanded in 20 states across the country. And she's also the founder and CEO of Empowering Women in Real Estate. It's a platform dedicated to uplifting women in the industry since 2014. If you guys have your hands up on the chats, we're gonna not have time for questions today, unfortunately. But you can chat them into the message box, and I'll see if I can do my best to answer any questions. I'm gonna be looking through the messages as Karen speaks. Karen, hello, welcome. Glad to see you today.
Hi, Dan. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So Karen's going to talk to us about organization building, right? So you go through the 4 pillars. Pillar number 1 is belief. And Tommy, we went through some specific examples of how you can believe in yourself. And then number 2 is to be able to lead generate. And Fraser went through some of those techniques to be able to, just gave us one tactic. In the book, I think there's 27 tactics and more, and it breaks it down exactly how you can be able to do each one of those tactics. And what Karen's going to talk to us today about is, you have a really large organization, you got a thriving organization, and she's going to talk to us about, building that organization. Karen, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. Yes, I've been in the real estate industry for 24 years, and 12 years ago, I found myself in this kind of strange place, which I think a lot of high producers, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners find themselves in, which is I was feeling kind of lonely in my business, and I was struggling to find, back 12 years ago, we didn't have a lot of the resources that we do now, like with your program and the Facebook groups and things like that. And I was really struggling to find a place where I could connect specifically with other women in the industry to learn from, to vent to. No one understands what you do like the people who are in your business. And so I started this community called Empowering Women in Real Estate, which I really had no aspirations for beyond just probably my local market. And it has grown now to more than 40,000 women in the real estate industry are a part of this group. It has expanded to a podcast. I published my first book 2 years ago. We do a big annual conference. We have monthly meetups. There's a coaching program. And truly building this organization, building this community has transformed not only my business, but my life.
Wow, that's amazing. So Karen, we're talking about like organization. So you have several different businesses, teams, organizations.
Yeah.
And so, if we could take any one of them, Empowering Women is a great example, right? With, a group of 40,000, that's a very substantial, you should be proud of yourself. I don't know how often people tell you that, but you should be proud of yourself, Karen. Like you really should be proud of yourself.
Thank
Like
you so
that's
much.
amazing. Like I know the work that you've done is I haven't had your experience, of course, right? But I know that that you put a lot of work into that.
Thank
And
you so much.
so as you've done this, like what have you learned about like getting the right people in the right places, getting the right systems in the right places? Karen, can you get 40,000 people without any help to be able to do something? Like, is that something you need sort of some systems and organization and people to guide you? Would that be a true statement?
That is a very true statement. I mean, I see that through all the different threads. As you said, I do have multiple organizations, right? We have the Empowering Women, which is the kind of the biggest, sort of the top of the funnel organization. I have, my network or my organization at my brokerage, which is about 300 people. And then I have my real estate team, which is 65 people. And so at every different level, you need that. You need systems. I mean, we really emphasize, I consider myself very much a systems person because anytime you're going to do anything at scale, you have to make it repeatable. You have to make it systematized because I am only one person and I can only do so many things. And if you're constantly having to recreate the wheel or think about, okay, what am I going to do next? Or what would the next best step be? You're doing nothing but just kind of slowing yourself down. You don't have an opportunity to get momentum. But when you can start to systematize, especially when you can borrow someone else's system who has done it well and who has a proven track record, and then you can start to implement that, then it speeds up everything that you do in your business.
Yeah, I love that you say, especially when you can find somebody else's system, and there's a lot of, like we're not here to sell any system, anything like that, today. But we want to. I mean, certainly, if you're a woman, how do you? If I'm a woman, how do I join your network? By the way, the empowering.
You go to Facebook, find the Facebook group. Empowering Women in Real Estate is on Facebook. That's a great way to do it. Connect with me on Instagram, or go to our website, empoweringwomeninrealestate.com.
All right. So if you're a woman, go do that right now because if you're a woman in real estate. And so, all right. So Karen, so let's go back to the organization piece of this, right? So when you talk about having the right people in place, the right systems in place, the right models in place, in that people have lived before us, so there's a model already in front of us, right? We don't necessarily need to figure things out. One of the Fraser, who just left us, he would tell me that one of my superpowers is that I rip off and duplicate.
Yep.
Right. Like I study success and I emulate it. I wouldn't necessarily think that I'm I think maybe I'm somewhat smart, but I'm not as smart as my smart is to find models of success and then freaking do it. That's where my lane of smart is. And so there's always somebody that's done something before us. So what have you discovered in, as you developed in like how does a system help you? How do people help you? And then also what are the problems with that as well? The growing pains.
Yeah, so many. I mean, we've gone through multiple iterations of that. We're going to talk about maybe specifically people and hiring and leveraging things like that. We've had times where we've hired people and it wasn't that they were bad people, but we weren't hiring them for the right positions. And we weren't hiring the things we tended to hire because we had a pain point. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs do this. You have a pain point, and so you try to quickly solve that by quickly bringing someone in and you think that hire is going to just immediately resolve whatever the issue is that you're experiencing. But rarely does that ever actually happen. Usually that problem that you're having is often a symptom of maybe a bigger problem. And so then what ends up happening, I know at one point in our business, we had, 7 or 8 full-time staff members, which was a lot for where we were at that time in our business, which was way too heavy. It was way too much overhead. It was frustrating as a business owner. It was hard to manage. And so the more clear you can be on what your roadblocks are, where you need help in your business, and so that you can hire for the right positions, then I feel like that's really as a business owner, I'm constantly striving and working to manage that part of it because I feel like that's one of the hardest.
Tell me about the time. So you built the staff solid first, and then you added salespeople on top of the structure. Is that what you did?
No, we had salespeople first.
Got it. Okay, so you did it that way. Okay, so then at one point you had too heavy of a staff. Like, talk to us through that. Like, what was that experience? What did you learn? What could somebody avoid, or what could somebody replicate?
Yeah. So I think, especially depending on when you're first starting out with your business, you can't have too many specialists when it comes to hiring. You need to hire people that have gifts in multiple different areas. That was one problem that we had. We would have a specialist in event planning. We would have a specialist in social media. We would have a specialist in operations. We would have a specialist in transactions. We would have a videographer. And especially in the beginning, it's really hard to do that. You have to have overlap or else you end up way too heavy from a staff point of view. It's hard to manage. It's hard to pay for. And so we've definitely learned that. We are more profitable now. We have a bigger business now than we've ever had, and we have fewer staff now than we've ever had. Wow. And part of that just comes from years and years of learning this. And at some point, you have to not be afraid to strip it down, which is really what we did a few years ago. Is we really just started simplifying, stripping down. I think we always have these great ideas. Let me add this to my business. Let me add this stream. Let me add this pillar. Let me, add. But while we're doing all the adding, we don't subtract anything. And you have to do a little bit of subtraction also, because you can't keep it all going. And so now we've really simplified to a point where it feels good. Like, I love my business again. I'm excited about my business again. There were years where I really wasn't. So that's my advice.
I love it, Karen. What I heard you say, so one of the things that I've done in my business, a lot of times people come to me and they say, Dan, how do you hire great people? Now,
Mhm.
first of all, I outline that and teach the sell. So I give you the hiring plan and teach the sell.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, I only get it right around 50% of the time.
Yes.
So I would say for me in hiring great people, I don't necessarily, what I do is I collect great people,
Hmm.
right? Because the odds are 90 days in, if you work with me,
Hmm.
50% of the time, you will not succeed at day 90.
Hmm.
50% of the time from day 90, the average tenure is 6 years after that. I want somebody to close her ears because I know she's here. And I heard her yesterday tell somebody else she says, I've been with Dan's company for 6 years. And I was like, oh crap. We're not at the 6 year mark, are we? Leslie, you're going to re-up for another six, just so you know. Anyways, so it's about getting in business with the right people and then staying in business with the right people and then choosing not to be in the business with the wrong people. And that doesn't mean that they're bad people, like Karen said. It just means that maybe the wrong seat on the bus.
That's right.
Tell us, Karen, how somebody or a system has helped you grow in like specifically like I had this problem. It was something that I didn't want to deal with, or I didn't have the capacity to deal with. Somebody else did it for me, or a system did it for me, and now I didn't have the problem after that. What comes to mind when I ask you that?
Yeah, there's a couple. One that's maybe easiest to understand is a consistency problem, an operations problem. I have a podcast, like you have a podcast, and when I first launched my podcast 6 years ago, it was very complicated. We had a very complicated process, and it wasn't what I would consider super systematized. And what we did have was like I said, complicated. I had to sit with someone, I had to be at a certain place in order to record the episodes, and so we started out strong, but within a couple of months, I stopped recording episodes because it was too hard. Like I didn't have a good system around it. And so it took me a little bit of time, but I realized that in order to get consistency, which consistency is how you get momentum, right? Consistency is how you get predictable income. I needed to have a system that was so easy. Like I had to take as many of the roadblocks away as I possibly could. And so for me, it became super simple. And this is how I record. I use my notes app on my phone and I use my AirPods. And yesterday I released episode 392. And so by taking away some of that tension up front and systematizing it into such a way that it became very easy, now I'm able to, we record out a month in advance and it's fun, it's easy. I have a great team that helps me to process the episodes. Like we have a great system that's not complicated, that makes sense to me, and that's what allows me to do it so consistently.
Karen, thank you for your time today. Audience, I want you to write down an acronym that I write and teach to sell called Scarlet. And so I want to give you a specific model today of hiring, right? So we go back into like, how do I hire the right person? And then I know that I've had headaches in hiring. I've had successes. I get it right about half the time. Karen, how often do you think you get it right?
Yeah, maybe not even half the time.
All right.
It's definitely a struggle.
Yeah. Now, that being said, there is a model that can get you to about half the time. And this model is called Scarlet. Scarlet is who I look for when I'm hiring people. S stands for self-starter. C stands for competitive. A stands for assertive. R is relationship based. T is team player. So it's the capital T and little e. That's the Scarlet. And L is learning based. So that's self-starter. And somebody put that in the chat there. So thank you. Self-starter, competitive, assertive, relationship based, learning based, team player. So use that in your hiring. And then when you're looking for the success, you're looking for success leaves clues. We've talked about that many, many times today. So does failure, by the way. Hire before you need them, though. That's the last piece there, right? Hire before you need them, and then, but not too far before you need them, because then you'll run out of money, right? So that's a little bit of a tricky wicket, and I'll walk you through in the book exactly how to implement that. Everybody, take yourself off of, put your microphones on, please, and join me in thanking Karen. So thank you, Karen. I see that Frazier stayed long enough to give himself applause and then he left. So we'll have to send him this video to thank him for that. All right. Last speaker. Thank you again, Karen. You are amazing. Amazing, amazing. I love the work that you're doing. Marla Ballard is a good friend of mine. And she's and I have known each other for a long, long time. Today, if some of you attended our Teach to Sell Live, I think it was 2 or 3 sessions ago, we had the CEO of U2 Shine, Victoria Rader, Dr. Rader,
Founder.
and
She's the founder. I'm the CEO.
I
Close. Almost.
I was going to get there. I knew that. I knew that.
You
What
got
I meant to
this.
say was the founder, and Marla is the CEO. Thank you. And excuse me for that. And so a few weeks ago we had Vika on, and today we have Marla on. So Marla runs her companies, and U2 Shine. You could tell us a little bit more about U2 Shine, but it's really a personal development company, and personally developed in different lanes of, like we all have, health and vitality and fitness and relationship. And their company, they have a coach that specializes in each one of those. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about leadership. And the definition of Teach to Sell that we talk about leadership, by the way, if you've not signed up for the $29 program, do it right now, because we're not going to, that's a limited time offer. I don't know how long we're going to keep it at $29, but it is a limited time. But so go ahead and register now. But Marla's company really helps people in the marketplace to be able to be the best versions of themselves. And what we're going to talk about today is leadership. My definition I go in the book of leadership is to teach somebody else how to think so they can get what they want. Marla, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, Dan.
You're welcome.
And I appreciate all the speakers and for all you guys being on here. This is such an amazing group. I'm just so honored to be here. So,
Fantastic.
what I want to talk about with leadership is we talk a lot about mindset and belief, right? And so here's what I want to bring your attention to. When you go back to the greats that really originated, manifesting through thought, like Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich, James Allen with As a Man Thinketh, Charles Hannell, who we know influenced Napoleon Hill with his Master Key system. They all have go back to the proverb that says, as a man thinketh. But what I want to call your attention to is the part that gets left out. It's actually, as a man thinketh, so in his heart. And so in quantum personal development, what we look at that actually creates a quantum leap or a quantum shift is not just mind over matter, but actually love over mind over matter. And I want to bring your attention to what's been a common theme, a common beautiful, beautiful undercurrent of this entire conversation and the creation of Teach to Sell. If you have listened, when Dan talks about teaching to sell, he specifically says we're not here to influence or manipulate. We're here to make offers and guide. And that comes from a heart-centered place of service and genuine love and appreciation and respect, right? Tommy talked about the kind of man he wants to be in life and in business. Fraser talked about really focusing on care and service for clients, right? And then Karen beautifully talked about creating this explosive community from her deep desire, first and foremost, for connection. Those are all the heart that is underneath all of the actions and the thoughts. And so I really want to bring us back to the heart. Now, our signature program, our highest end program in You to Shine is our Abundant Me program. And with that, what we do is we actually work with the 6 mental faculties to open the 6 mental faculties, right? But the first mental faculty in order starts with perception. The second mental faculty is imagination. And these were originally identified by Bob Proctor, who also is another amazing manifester, teacher, coach, and thought leader who passed on a few years ago, but we're still influenced greatly by Bob's influence. But the reason why perception is the first mental faculty we open is because here's how it works. You cannot out-imagine your self-perception. So I really want you to think about that in the context of leadership. Because when you cannot out-imagine your self-perception, then we want to first focus on how are you perceiving yourself as a leader? How do you perceive yourself as how you show up in the world? For not only for other people, but for you, right? Because leadership always starts first with leading ourselves. And that comes from that self-belief, and that self-belief comes from our self-perception, right? And so I would argue that that isn't just in the head and the mind, that's actually in the heart. That's the heart of who you are, why you do what you do. That's where leadership comes from. That's where our belief, our drive comes from. You know, someone once said to me that when you look at the world, whatever it is that makes your heart ache a little bit or brings tears to your eyes is probably the purpose that you came here to fulfill. Right? And we've all tuned into that. And all of you are doing it in different ways. You know, business is a vehicle for growth and for money. But, you know, I've coached people around money now for over 20 years. And every single, like thousands and thousands of people, right? And every single person without fail, when you ask them, why do you want more money? They will always bring it down to, I want the freedom to show up how and when I want to serve without having to worry about what it's going to cost me, right? I want to provide more for my family, my community, the people I care about, charities I want to give back to. I want to do more to serve in the world. Nobody wants money just for money's sake. Nobody talks about burying it in the ground or sticking it between their mattress when you ask them why they want more money. So if you're here to make more money and become more profitable, underneath that in your heart, I guarantee is a deep desire of something you want to use that profitability, that money, that time freedom for to contribute to the world. So I think it's really important to bring us back deeply to that self-perception that this is about heart-centered leadership. And what's really interesting, physiologically, there's an amazing institute, if you've ever heard of it, called the Heart Math Institute. And they've been studying a lot about heart coherence and heart coherence in the body and the brain. What they've actually discovered is that there is a small brain in the heart. And that it's actually the same neurons that are in the brain are actually located within the heart. And that it is actually the heart that influences the brain more than the other way around. They're discovering that now. That's why when they've discovered, like when people have a heart transplant, suddenly the person who receives a heart can speak the language that they never spoke before if the person they got their heart from spoke in a foreign language, or they'll have their memories or their dreams. It's really amazing because the heart holds all of that, right? So that's why I want to bring us back to that. It's just a fascinating thing to begin to learn and understand. So heart coherence. So I'd love for you guys to take out a piece of paper. I want to do a quick exercise with you.
I got my paper.
Awesome. You know, Dan, I have to tell you, I got so tickled when Tommy said he wanted to be you because I was thinking 3 months ago when you said I'm the female version of you.
He wants to be you, Marla.
I had to just laugh. Thank you for that. That was so fun. Okay, so I want you to think of three leaders that you deeply admire or that have had an impact on your life over the years. And just write those three names down.
Okay, I wrote my three down.
Okay, now for each leader, I want you to write down three qualities or values that they had that you wish you had or that you really deeply admired in them.
You know, Drill Sergeant Kiker is one of my three, and I'm not so sure if I admire much about Drill Sergeant Kiker, except he kicked my butt.
Well, authentically kicking your butt could be a great quality to admire in a leader,
Okay,
right? Because that takes courage to show up to be authentic, right? Or at least that's what I'm hearing, Dan.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, I wrote down mine.
Okay, so everybody should have 9 qualities. Of course, you can have more, but I want you to have at least 9. So now I want you to consider the quote that's attributed to Einstein. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. So in energy, there is a law of vibration. A lot of people talk about the law of attraction. But the reality is that we vibrate at a frequency. And when we're seeking growth, what we're actually shifting is we're shifting our vibration to a higher frequency. All right? So the 9 qualities that you just wrote down, I want you to realize that is who you are and are potentially becoming now as a leader. Now, you may not have seen yourself that way. This is going back to, I want to open your perception, your self-perception in your heart. Because here's the thing, you cannot observe those qualities in someone else if you're not already moving into the vibration of them. So whatever those 9 qualities are that you wrote, that you've admired, you have them. You're opening them, you're expanding them. They're there for you. And so now it's a matter of actually bringing yourself into the present moment and claiming it. Because one of the things that happens with perception is so often we get stuck in perceiving ourselves how we once were instead of how we are now. And that's what I see with so many high performers. We're driven, right, to become. It's that deep drive. And a lot of the things that motivate us sometimes is coming out of something that we wanted to really grow past, but we can get stuck there too. So I just want to bring you forward into the present, that those 9 qualities and any others that you're admiring in other people are who you are and who you're becoming now, and bring you fully present to who you are now as the leader that you are in your heart. And that's what you get to lead from.
It's amazing,
so,
Marla.
Yeah, so anytime I find myself meeting a person and thinking, I wish I had more of X, right? Think of it, instead of going into comparison or self-criticism that you're not there. Think of it more like fun and shopping. Wow, I really admire that about that person. Oh, hey, because I admired it, I must already be creating it.
Mm.
Right? What a gorgeous way to interact with the world as a leader. And so then the next thing I want to talk about is the law of intention. You know, we work with universal laws at You to Shine. That's part of our quantum personal development, is love over mind over matter, working with the mental faculties and the universal laws that help create them, right? To expand into really into working with higher power and that deep love that's there for all of us, right? So the law of intent, the universal law of intention, has been one of my favorites for a long time. And in the book Prosper Me, Victoria Rader talks about where your intention goes, your focus follows. And your focus is what controls creation. Right? And then she goes on to say that when you're having the thought, I have to do something, instead of I get to do something, you've lost intention. So think about that in business. How many things do we say, I have to do this, instead of waking up every day and going, wow, I get to do this? And how differently they feel in your body, right? In my business, we all have things in our business that are not our favorite thing to do. And it's very easy to get bound up in, I have to do this. But what if you shifted the intention and the feeling simply to, how fortunate am I that I get to do this? Because we know that what we appreciate through gratitude appreciates in value. What you appreciate will appreciate. So working from intention, from that beautiful place of love and gratitude of I get to, and then breaking intention down. You know, I had an amazing mentor for 10 years in my wellness company named Ralph Oates, and I've loved Ralph dearly. He was incredible. He and his wife, Kathy, actually lived on Billionaires Row in Dallas, 2 doors down from Ross Perot. So that kind of gives you an idea. They did pretty okay for themselves, right? Now, Ralph always drilled me down about intention. And I don't mean like my intention for the day. I mean like moment by moment intention. And one of my favorite things he taught me is consistently asking, what is my intention in this moment? And so when we would go to make sales calls, cold calls, we ran radio ads all over the country, right? And we would be calling those leads back. Is your intention when you're dialing the phone, hoping it'll go to voicemail so you don't have to deal with anybody today?
Let's hope not. Marla,
Okay.
we're gonna have to wrap it
Yep.
up here real quick.
Okay, but so look at your intention and start shifting your intention to actually align with what's in your heart, right? Because if your intention is to reach a person to help see if what your specific gifts and talents can offer to help enrich their lives. That's going to create a completely different result than being on autopilot of just not wanting to talk with anybody, hope it goes to voicemail. So I just want you to open your self-perception of who you are now in your heart, and the love that you carry, the purpose that drives you, and then aligning your intention to it moment by moment in everything you do. So thank you.
Thank you, Marla. Let's give her a round of applause and give yourself a round of applause as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And I hope to see you at the upcoming event coming on Tuesday, which is Teach to Sell Live, which is the implementation program. And as I mentioned to you, it's a $149 program that we're charging $29 up front just because we got to charge you something. And I'm doing this to be able to help you to have the frameworks. And I'm going to talk you through the entire book that's going to be published in June of this year, Teach to Sell. That's going to be published by Post Hill Press and distributed by Simon & Schuster. And I'd love to be able to get you into the training so that we can help you so that you can have consistent, predictable income, that you can follow specific systems to be able to do so. Sign up now. And until then, have the best day of your life. Be grateful, make good choices, go help somebody. And visit the website on the screen there to be able to save your seat. Have a great day. I'll see you guys. I love you. God bless you. And thank you to all of our speakers. You're amazing.
Ask you something real. Have you ever felt capable, smart, experienced, and still notice your income feels inconsistent? It's not a motivation problem, and it's not a hustle problem. It's a conversation problem. That gap between what you know you can do and other people's willingness to move forward is called the influence gap. And that's exactly what the Teach to Sell Book Ambassador Club is designed to close. It's not just a book club, it's a 5-week implementation experience that teaches you how trust actually forms in conversations and how decisions move forward without pressure. Week 1, you'll see why effort isn't the issue and why let me think about it really means there's no clarity. Week 2, you'll learn why confidence doesn't come from personality, it comes from certainty. And certainty comes from being understood. Week 3, you learn language that creates safety instead of resistance, so pressure disappears naturally. Week 4, you'll stop selling altogether and learn how authority is earned by teaching, not convincing. And week 5, you end restart mode by installing daily habits that compound trust and protect consistent and predictable income. Here's the part most people miss. You're not just paying for coaching. You get full access to the CBI Digital Training Library, a $10,000 system built to make Teach to Sell stick. Not motivation, not hype, a framework that prevents slipping backwards. 5 minutes a week creates massive momentum. This is $29 for 5 weeks. Then an ongoing support if you choose to stay. Cancel anytime, no pressure, full transparency. If you're ready to replace selling with leadership, and if you want people to feel clear and safe saying yes, join us as a Teach to Sell Book Ambassador. This is where trust becomes consistent and predictable income.